Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another week of the Self-Love Club. I am coming at you not feeling my best this week. I don't know if you can tell that I have a bit of a cold, and by a bit of a cold, I've been sick for an entire week, and it has not been fun. And I think the common consensus of anyone I've talked to who's also been sick in the summer is it's just really not enjoyable to be sick when it's hot outside, when there's so many fun things to be doing, and I can't really do them because I am not feeling great. And that really leads me into what our intention for this month of August is. I had a few other intentions in mind, but as I was sick this week and trying to get work done and trying to heal and rest and recover and do all of, quote unquote, the right things that you're supposed to do when you're sick, I realized I wasn't giving myself any compassion while I was navigating this cold, trying to take care of work, trying to take care of my household, all the things that come in with being sick and also trying to just live your life normally. And so that made me really realize that I'm struggling with self-compassion. I am so quick to tell my friends, my family, anyone that I love to go easy on themselves, to show themselves more compassion, especially when things are happening outside of their control, like sickness, or when things are busy or stressful. I'm really good at giving other people compassion, but I am not so great at giving it to myself. So that leads me into this month's intention, which is self-compassion. I think it's very important for all of us to learn about self-compassion and also just the importance of it, because it is a term that we may know, we've likely heard before, but if we're not implementing it in our lives, we're not aware of how it can actually be beneficial to us and our personal growth and the journey that we're on, we're not really going to commit to self-compassion. So as you probably also saw, I did not do an intro for this month because I've been coughing most days. I didn't really want to record an intro episode with a fever, while coughing and thinking about, is this a good enough episode to post? Is it a good enough episode to share? Will people relate to it? So that was my first practice in self-compassion, is I allowed myself to not do what I would normally do, which would be recording the intro episode. So I'm going to give a very brief intro to what self-compassion will be this month before I dive into our first week where we get a little bit, deeper into understanding our intention. So our world, whether you believe it or not, demands a lot of us, and it often demands perfection and this idea of constant achievement. And I know that's something I definitely struggle with, and I would assume a majority of us can relate to. And I think one thing that really brings back to those struggles is this concept of self-compassion. It's a powerful tool that empowers us to embrace our imperfections. Hello, yes, please. Break free from the perfectionism trap. That one also speaks to me. And cultivate a nurturing mindset. So this month, we're going to be diving into all different aspects of self-compassion, focusing on, what is self-compassion? I think, as you know, I love to define things before we dive deeper. It's important to know what we're talking about. Also, the perfectionism trap. As someone who has struggled with being a perfectionist most of my life, it is a trap and it is a cycle that we easily get caught up in. And there is a way that we can break that cycle and kind of get out of that trap. So we're going to talk about that. And then obviously embracing imperfections. That's where the self-compassion comes in, is understanding that we will not be perfect. And not only understanding that, but embracing those imperfections and finding a way to use those to empower us as we are on this, personal growth and this journey of life. And then lastly, I love to put things into action. So how we can practice self-compassion on a daily basis, not just when you're sick and stressed and everything feels out of control, but every single day, so that when things do get really hard and things do feel out of your control, your self-compassion habits and rituals are already in place. So it's easy to lean on those and make sure that you are loving yourself through the hardships that life no doubtably will hand us from time to time. So for this week, starting from the top, starting from the beginning, it really is about understanding what self-compassion is. I know we often find ourselves in a comparison cycle, and it's very easy to neglect our own needs. If we are looking what other people are doing, how they're, operating their life, what they're posting or sharing on social media, we start to neglect and stop listening to ourselves and start comparing ourselves to others. And therefore, we remove any compassion we have for ourselves, whether we're going through a hard time, whether we're still trying to figure out where we want to be in life, what we want to do. We are in a cycle of not loving ourselves fully, but we are so capable of doing that for other people. So self-compassion is a transformative practice that invites us to treat ourselves with the same kindness and empathy that we extend to others around us. Obviously, that sounds great because, we want to be able to love ourselves the way we love others, but it's like anything, it's not a simple solution. This is a journey we're on, and we're going to explore the benefits and discover how we can cultivate this nurturing practice in our lives. So self-compassion is the gentle act of acknowledging our own pain, struggles, and imperfections without judgment. That to me is really big, is no judgment and acknowledging that these are things that we're feeling and it's okay to be feeling those. This concept of self-compassion was developed by Dr. Kristen Neff, a pioneering psychologist. Self-compassion consists of 3 core components. So the first component would be self-kindness. Rather than criticizing ourselves for our perceived failures or weaknesses, self-compassion encourages a loving and understanding approach. It involves speaking to ourselves with kindness and embracing our humanness. I love that. Our humanness. We are humans. We are flawed at our base, at our core level. We are flawed individuals, but we're all humans and we're all so much alike. Another component is the common humanity. Again, that humanness. Self-compassion reminds us that suffering is an intrinsic part of the human experience. We recognize that everyone encounters challenges and that we are not alone in our struggles. This is definitely something I have felt from time to time, where I feel isolated in my struggles, that no one can understand what I'm going through and no one's been through what I've been through. And that's not true at all. The struggles of life is just a part of life, and we all experience it one way or another. And then the last component of self-compassion is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the foundation of self-compassion. By being present with our emotions and experiences without suppressing or exaggerating them, we foster a deeper connection with ourselves. Again, every intention that we have is really about going back to ourselves, building that relationship we have with ourselves. Our number one relationship in life is with ourselves. So we are on a mission to build that deeper connection, and that's what self-compassion can really benefit us with. There's obviously a lot of benefits of self-compassion. So embracing self-compassion brings forth a myriad of positive effects that contribute to our overall well-being and mental health, which I think we all would like that, especially after the past couple of years. I know many of us have struggled with, anxiety, maybe depression. I've personally struggled with both on and off my whole adult life, and it can definitely feel heightened when a lot of things are out of my control. So being able to see the benefits of self-compassion, to me, encourages me to want to implement it a little bit sooner and be more excited about adding this into my toolkit of self-care. So obviously one of the biggest benefits is reduced stress and anxiety. Yes, please sign me up for that. Self-compassion helps us respond to stress with more nurturing attitude and leading to a decreased level of anxiety and emotional reactivity. I was talking to my personal coach about this before, that if I don't allow myself to feel the feelings that I have, I'm basically suppressing them and they're going to blow up at some point, like a Coke can or a bottle of beer, whatever it may be. If it's shaken and it's not slowly released when I'm feeling those emotions, it's going to completely explode. So obviously, I want to reduce my stress and anxiety, and I want to enhance my resilience, which is another benefit of self-compassion. By acknowledging our difficulties with kindness and understanding, we develop greater resilience in facing life's challenges. So by implementing self-compassion in our day-to-day life, starting with where you're at right now, it's only going to benefit you as you continue to navigate life and as you continue to face other hardships and challenges. They will actually stop feeling quite so hard and quite so challenging because you've developed this skill set of self-compassion to help you navigate those seasons in life. Another beautiful benefit is improved self-esteem. I don't think we talk about self-esteem a lot because it often gets somehow tied to the ego, and that conversation around confidence or cockiness can feel like, oh, you can't be too confident. You can't be too proud of yourself because then you're going to, be just inflating your ego or bragging about yourself. Whereas it is important to have self-esteem. That's just a reality. If your biggest relationship is with yourself, you should be loving yourself, proud of yourself, and not afraid to acknowledge that. That is definitely something you should be looking at doing and spending some more time and understanding in yourself, especially as women. And I would say self-compassion nurtures a sense of self-worth that is not contingent on external validation. So again, this is really personal to you, and it's leading to obviously your increased self-esteem. So again, it goes back to that relationship you have with yourself and making sure that as you love yourself more, you are going to see yourself for all of the amazing things that you have to offer, which in turn will boost your self-esteem and just continue a confidence cycle. So whatever you're facing, you are going into it with confidence rather than fear or the imposter syndrome, which is something that I know many of us have experienced at one time or another. Another great benefit would be emotional regulation. Again, this goes back to when you're suppressing your emotions, you can't really regulate how you're expressing them when you're sharing them because you are pushing them down or you're disregarding them in general and not giving them the validity that they have and the fact that those are things you are feeling because all feelings are valid. So mindfulness is an integral part of self-compassion and enables us to manage emotions effectively and respond to them with compassion. I think one of the biggest things that we have seen in these conversations lately is our misunderstanding of emotions and our inability to communicate what we're feeling or even to find the words for what emotion we have. And I've definitely seen this with a lot of friends who have younger kids that have emotional books or different games to be able to point out what emotions they're feeling to help their children articulate what they're feeling, because if they're not given the words, they're not going to be able to express it other than in emotional outbursts, which we would have called tantrums growing up. So I know even as an adult, I can definitely have mini tantrums because I'm not able to identify the emotions I'm feeling, verbalize what's going on, and communicate to my emotions to those around me. So that's definitely something that I want to be able to use self-compassion to benefit me in my day-to-day life. Lastly, another really big thing that is a benefit from self-compassion is the empathy for others. As we learn to be compassionate towards ourselves, we also become more empathetic and compassionate towards others, which is allowing us to foster healthier relationships with those around us, which is definitely important in terms of building community, building relationships, whether that's your friends, romantic partners, your family. Let's be honest, relationships are hard work, and it's not always easy to have empathy for others and compassion when you look at someone and think, well, you should have handled it this way, or why are you behaving or reacting that way? When we have self-compassion, we're able to also give that compassion more easily to others around us. When it comes to cultivating self-compassion, the biggest thing is it's a journey of self-discovery. It's kind of like peeling back those layers of an onion. I always think of Shrek when I say that. It's just, that analogy has stuck with me my whole life, but it really is about self-discovery and growth. So here's some practice that can help us develop this empowering skill. So self-compassionate language. Again, being able to verbalize these things. Replace self-criticism with kind and understanding words. Treat yourself as you would treat a dear friend in need. This sometimes can be practiced in a way of writing out something to yourself as if you were writing it to a friend. I'm a very auditory person. I love podcasts and listening to things. So sometimes I actually record voice notes of support and love for myself that I can play to myself when I'm going through a hard time. And whatever works for you, it is really about replacing those words and your vocabulary and your language that normally would fall into a negative or a critical or criticism mindset and replacing it with something positive that is full of compassion. So that's an easy way we can start to practice self-compassion on a daily basis and very bite-sized practices. So again, this is about easing this in. It's not an overhaul of your life. It's about actually slowly making these changes to see some results. Mindful awareness. This one is really big because it's about practicing mindfulness by staying present with your emotions and acknowledging them without judgment. So this goes back to not disregarding, suppressing, or invalidating your emotions. All feelings are valid, and that's so important to remind yourself when you're starting to feel things that maybe you're not sure where these feelings are coming from, why you're having them. You need to be able to sit and be mindful in that and understand that, yeah, you're feeling something, and let's actually dissect this. Let's talk about it, whether that's talking with a friend, writing things out, exploring it through a creative outlet. There's so many different ways that you can allow yourself to feel things, but by actually being mindful in your feelings and not just pushing it off to the side or sort of saying you're going to deal with that later, it's a better way to understand self-compassion in those moments of hardship that you're facing. A big one is embracing imperfectionism. This is huge because, like I said, we are not perfect beings. We are human and we are flawed from our core. That's just a reality. So recognizing that being human means being imperfect and embracing your flaws as a part of your unique journey. I think this is so great of wanting to find those unique characteristics of who you are, whether that's someone that feels things so deeply. Maybe you're an empath and you cry at every movie and every TV show you watch. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And you shouldn't be disregarding your emotions. You shouldn't be minimizing that that's something about you. That is a superpower that you have. That is an ability that you can truly feel things for other people. You have the empathy and compassion for others. So I highly recommend looking at your unique characteristics and celebrating those for what they are rather than trying to change them into what society would maybe deem as more acceptable, when in reality, you at your core for who you are is already enough and is so, so worthy. Another one is setting boundaries. This goes back to our intention that we had in March and how important boundaries are, but setting boundaries is just so, so key to so many areas of our life, especially when it comes to personal growth. But setting boundaries to allow yourself to prioritize self-care by, having these boundaries, but also making time for activities that nourish your mind and body. So self-compassion comes more naturally when you're caring for yourself in a variety of different ways. You need to be loving yourself on a daily basis, whether that's giving yourself 20 minutes in the morning to just be present with yourself, check in with how you're feeling, where your emotions are at, maybe doing a light stretch. Or maybe that's your wind down routine at night and journaling before bed and reading a book that really either takes you out of reality or inspires you something that you want to be focusing in on. It's really important to have different self-care habits that benefit your mind and your body and your soul and really allow you to feel connected to yourself. A big one that I know is not easy for most of us is forgiveness. And that is releasing yourself from the burden of past mistakes by offering forgiveness and understanding to yourself. I'm sure many of you are like me and you've been falling asleep and suddenly this thought comes into your mind of, why did I do that? How come I was so stupid? And then you start to spiral in this negative mindset of something you did in your past that you can't change. There's nothing that can be done about it. And suddenly it's taking away from your enjoyment in not only your present, but also your future because you become subconscious of maybe making the same mistake or doing something similar. And it's so important to be able to forgive yourself for things that you've done in the past because that's all of how you've become who you are. All of our mistakes allow us to grow and evolve into the people we've become, and they shape you into the amazing person that you are today. And it's so important to use those mistakes as learning obstacles rather than things that hold us back from achieving our dreams. One of the last things that I personally need to work on is reaching out for support. So reaching out to friends, family, or professional counselors to share your experiences and receive support is definitely hard for a lot of people. I know for myself as someone who would be considered more A-type, and I have been trying to avoid the word, but I would categorize myself as somewhat of a perfectionist. I don't often look for help from other people. I always think that I can figure it out on my own. And that is such a negative place to be because the reality is we all need support from others. I know I mentioned it a bit earlier. I have a personal coach and she has been such a huge asset to me in sort of removing myself from my mind and these pitfalls that I'm aware of, but I'm not able to necessarily get past. And it's also allowed me to be more vulnerable and open up about areas that I'm struggling in, places that I want to grow and evolve in, and having someone in my corner that is rooting me on and cheering me on has been one of the best things. So I highly recommend reaching out to those in your corner. It doesn't have to be a professional or a personal coach or someone who you have to pay. It can be easily your friends or family, someone that you feel confident in chatting with and sharing with and being vulnerable with, it's so important to have someone you can talk to about different things. So overall, self-compassion is an invaluable gift we can offer ourselves in a world that often demands perfectionism and so much more from us. And by embracing our own imperfections and treating ourselves with kindness, we are able to unlock the door to a more fulfilling and authentic life. To me, it's just so exciting to know that we have all of these skills and abilities within ourselves to live and lead the life that we want to. We have the ability to create the life that we want to live. Oftentimes, it feels like so much is out of our control, and there's no way that we can wake up and be excited for each day because there's so many things happening in the world. But how we react to what's going on, how we treat ourselves, the relationship we build with ourselves allows us to achieve so many different things. And self-compassion is clearly one of those keys to getting us there. The journey of cultivating self-compassion may take time, but the benefits are immeasurable, fostering resilience, emotional well-being, and stronger connection with others. Together, let's empower ourselves to rise above self-criticism. Yes, we really need to do that, and embrace the beauty of self-compassion. As we nurture ourselves with compassion, we create a ripple effect of kindness that extends beyond us, uplifting and enriching those lives of those around us. You know, I'm a big fan of the ripple effect. I love being able to cause a bit of a ripple effect. That may be why I'm recording this podcast and doing this YouTube video. Hello, if you're watching on YouTube. And this is definitely something that I'm a big believer in. If I lead with vulnerability and honesty, it can only lead to other positive impacts on others. So that's why I'm here sharing with you what I'm personally going through and how I've been struggling with self-compassion. So remember, self-compassion is not a destination. No, it is a continuous practice that leads us towards a life with love, empathy, and understanding. And I just want you to know, if you've been struggling with self-compassion, criticism, comparison, and just feeling down on yourself and not feeling like you have a great relationship with yourself right now, you are not alone. This is a season. This is not forever. This is definitely something that we are all going to come out of, and it's a journey that we're on together. So I hope you have an amazing day, and remember to love yourself first.